Okay, should we get started? Are we ready? You ready, Joe?
Yep, let's do it.
Fantastic. Welcome everybody to the challenge drill. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a 45-minute agenda, and we're going to get through all of this material within the 45 minutes, and we're going to also make the recording available to all of you. So no need to take notes. We're going to start off with a quick introduction to Uptime Labs, what we do, for those of you who don't know us. We are then going to spend a little bit of time talking about the challenge drill, what made it hard. And then Joe is going to take us through some grounding examples, which is really key to this particular drill. And then we're going to go through the results, which is why you're all here, to find out who was the best, who was the fastest. And then we have an exciting new challenge drill, which Joe's going to take us through. Now, please ask us as many questions as you can. Don't wait until until the end. Just start writing your questions into the Q&A, and we'll get to them by the end. And if you can't think of a question, think of a really good drill. Think of a drill that kept you up at night, and just start typing that in. Because if you give us a drill, then we'll probably implement it, and it should be called by your name. So it will be your drill. Okay, with that, let's move to the next slide. Just a quick intro. My name is Greg Bowman. I'm in sales, so I'll be asking all of the questions for the people on this call who are not in incident management. So I'll be covering your questions, and Joe is the expert. Joe.
Thank you, Greg. Yeah, I'm Joe. I'm a co-founder at Uptime Labs, and I'm very involved in designing and running the challenge drill. I'm going to unpack all the information today. Thank you, Greg.
Fantastic. Let's start off with a very quick poll, because I'd really love to know who's attending this call today, because some of you are going to be experts. You would have actually played the challenge drill, and some of you will not be. And this is possibly your first webinar with us. So click the yes or no button, and then we'll take a look at the results. All right, we'll announce those results probably in a slide so we can carry on. Joe, over to you.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, so when the pressure is on, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your highest level of preparation. And that's something very important to us at Uptime Labs. And when you get that call or that alert or that SEB1 or that call from customer success, and you need to step into gear, you really want to be ready and prepared as much as possible. That's when you really need to lean on your skills and experience and expertise and trust how you can work with your teammates and your staff. And that's really the cornerstone of our vision at Uptime Labs. We take sort of principles from safety critical systems like aviation and the medical and the fire service industries. And really we sort of lean in three core principles or pillars. The first one is that, to be prepared, you do a lot of tailored practice, focused practice, where there's deliberate planning on what type of challenges are you trying to achieve and what are the objectives of the drill. It's measured and it's tracked, and you have analytics that you can read and review and sort of set your benchmark and sort of set up your continuous improvement development program based on data rather than your CV and your reputation, right? And then the third one is on the frequency of practice. So no matter how skilled you are, no matter how much experience you are, when that buzzer goes or that call comes, look, we got a SEB1, you need to be ready, you need to be match fit, you want to jump on the muscle memory, you don't want to be rusty. And we'll see these three aspects: tailored drills, measured and analytics, and frequency of practice are the cornerstones for safety critical industries to be prepared. But then we apply that, Uptime Labs applies that within the tech industry. And we've taken that inspiration and created a virtual company with a product, with virtual products. So the one we're going to talk about today is an online boutique, which is an e-commerce product. You can play. We take the spirit of those three aspects, focus drills, regular practice, and analytics, and we apply that into our product. Okay. And that sort of tees us up nicely then we have this sort of deliberate, apologies, we deliberate strategy around challenge drill, where we pick a hard drill. They're not easy. They're fairly advanced drills, and we put them against the time. So we create this like synthetic pressure. So we can create the sort of realism Sev 1 scenario. We create artificial pressure with a competition, and with advanced drills, challenging drills. We run it over a 2-week period where all our participants in Uptime Labs take part. No matter what your role, no matter what your experience is, we invite everyone over the 2-week period to play the same drill with the same level of challenges, knowing that you're entering a competition, and you may get your name up in a webinar in the future. And we score and give rewards out to the top performers, whether that's skill-based or it's, at the end of the day, solving the drill in the quickest times. And sometimes a bit of both. That's sort of an essence of our challenge drill. We run them quite frequently. About once a quarter, we run them. So the idea is that you prep with the drills, and then you get ready for the challenge drill to prove your worth. Okay. Now the next question goes into on the challenge drill is, well, what does it take? What are the ingredients when it comes to a challenge drill? And there's sort of 4 key components to the challenge drill. The first one is, ideation. I did get a bit of grief for that word. Did I make it up? But really we start with sourcing out the challenge itself. And that comes from drill ideas that Greg mentioned at the start of the webinar, where we love to hear about incidents that people been through. If you're in incident management, you will share your war stories and scars. The scars are what triggered us to focus on incident response in the first place. We love to hear ideas around drills and around incidents that's happened. And then we move to the second part, which is basically based on real incidents where there was some really good learnings and challenges there. We sort of take a creative aspect of that. It's like coming up with a screenplay for a movie or for a TV show. It's a creative aspect where we come up with the challenge drill in the scenario in the simulator. So there's a storyline and there's dramatic, moments in it, and it's a really fun, creative process to take a real life incident and then replicate it into a scenario based in our simulator, and then we focus on, okay, what types of challenges are we actually going to expose in this drill, right? And this is really, people look back at incidents in the past, they'll talk about the challenges. This is experience. What did you learn from this experience, right? And the challenges are the experience. So we sort of be very focused on explicit challenges within each drill. And then finally then is the learning opportunities. So basically these are opportunities where you can apply what you've done in the drills and apply it in to address these challenges. So that's a very deliberate process about how we set up these campaigns.
I got a quick question for you. I was going to ask about ideation because I still haven't found that in the dictionary. I've been looking all morning.
Google it.
It's not there. But I was more interested in those challenges. So, we got 30 or more drills. What is it that makes you choose a particular drill that you thought 30 people would want to simultaneously play? What drew you to this particular challenge?
Well, in general, there's 2 themes we're after when it comes to picking a challenge drill. The first theme is that someone's telling a really good incident story, that you say, the more people who could listen to that story and learn from that experience, the better the organization will be. So they're referred to as spicy incidents by John Ospa. Really the nasty ones that, you can sit around a beer as an incident manager and share those stories. So that's one, is that it comes from a real life harsh lesson. We want to pick them up. And the second one is that it's about setting you up in a scenario where it's disorientating, it's a lot of uncertainty at the start, and there's a lot of ambiguous situations, not clear at all. It's very, very foggy. So it's not a simple, correlation. We want to put you in a place where it's spinning around and there's partial information. And really, this is what we do. The challenge drill is there for you to practice the skills and navigate those challenge situations, because you've never seen the incident before. It's unfamiliar world, and that's what we train people for.
Okay. A proper plane crash.
Proper plane crash, yeah. So this one we just ran. We ran a couple of weeks ago, and was based on a really good drill idea and experience that Arisha from IG came across, and she was generous enough to share the war story with us. It's from a real incident that happened in Q4 in 2023. And really, when you unpack that incident, it was a sort of perfect storm of problems. So it wasn't just one thing, it was a number of cascading things that happened at once. So we've taken those patterns, and sort of introduced that into a challenge drill. And then to add this sort of sauce on top, really, we also look at the technical fault as well. So the situation, maybe we'll take an example of a typical technical fault that can happen and introduce that as well. And it's sort of a combination of all these factors. So the one we picked was around API keys. The API key is particularly used to source third-party vendor information, and it expires during core hours at a very busy period of time, which triggers the chaos and panic.
So I want to ask you one quick question about the perfect storm. What kind of a problem, or what set of problems creates a perfect storm? If you were to drill down a little bit on bullet number 3. Or what would you say was your worst nightmare as a really difficult problem?
Well, Arisha's idea really was basically put into really, we took 3 categories, 3 patterns here for the perfect storm. So pattern 1 was that there was a change made and signed off, but the change actually wasn't applied at that time. So the underlying problem was that the system wasn't really restarted and had a hard reboot, which meant the changes were not picked up and applied. So you had this idea where you had a change and then a long time delay and lots of other changes in other systems until the actual change was applied. And when it was applied, it was from another change, completely unrelated. So that's the first trigger. If you think of a troubleshooter, okay, what last changed? The actual causation of that underlying issue was many days ago, right? And there's lots of changes in between. So that was sort of pattern 1 we introduced in the drill. I'm sure people have experienced that before. The second pattern was that the triage staff who were on call when the incident did happen were not involved at all or familiar with the work that went into the breaking change. So no one on that call was familiar with the change. Okay, so you had like a fresh pair of eyes or staff that were totally unfamiliar with the change that caused the issue. Okay, so no one would say, oh, I know what this is, it's this, right? Okay, you wouldn't get that, right? The final fault or the final challenge was that it happened on a complicated technical architecture. So it just wasn't a simple architecture. And we introduced, if anyone's familiar with caching and caches, there's a cache involved, and there's expiration and caches involved, and they're not quite sure when is the cache going to expire and stuff like that. And will the cache refresh? And there's this non-trivial technical architecture behind the scenes for the poor triage team to figure out and investigate. So those 3 combined brought up the sort of challenge.
Kind of like a time bomb, and nobody was looking.
Yeah.
I think we had a survey that just popped up. It'd be interesting to capture how many of you out there have had those kind of problems simultaneously, or that level of complexity.
Yeah, I'll keep going. Yeah, I'll keep going where people can fill in that. So if we move to when we look back, so we call this drill details matters. Okay. And if you come up with the drill idea, you can name the drill, okay, whatever you want, without giving away the secret, okay? So details matters was this challenge drill. Now there's 3 particular areas as an incident commander, right? Or we use the word incident commander. You can use incident manager as well, interlinked. But the incident commander in this particular drill, we triggered 3 challenges, okay? So the first one's around confusion, okay? It's not obvious at the start, what actually is going on. So no one really knows what's going on at the start. It starts in a very confused state, as a lot of incidents do, right? Particularly when it's a serious issue. So that starts, right, and unplanned, right? All incidents are unplanned, of course. So that's the starting point. Then you have this idea of split brain. So, most of us are across between the bridge calls on Slack channels, right? But you've got a lot of different individuals come from different backgrounds, from different development centers, whatever, different skills, joining a call. And you've got lots of different mental models of what actually is going on at any one time. And sometimes, if it's not managed right, for example, senior management might have a different perception of how well the incident is going compared to, say, the engineer or the incident commander, right? Or even 2 engineering teams have different perspectives or different mental models, okay? So that results in different actions on the ground or missed messages across the communication channels, okay? And sort of creates the first issue, which is confusion. And then the third challenge is that in this scenario, you have lots of opinions floating around, not very helpful opinions like, do we have our best people on this, right? Coming in from senior stakeholders. But even more around, hypotheses and theories people are coming up with, like, is that network issue we had last week, right? Which is not based really on any evidence, right? Just based on, oh, that broke last week, is it this, right? And we've all been there, okay? So it's the combination of these 3 together, which is what happens in the real world, right? They don't happen. It's the combination together that sort of brings the challenging situation to the incident commander. Okay.
A quick question: what on the 3rd column? What happens if you're not in agreement?
Well, we do have a say in Uptime Labs, and we're training our staff, is that the incident commander is the CEO of the incident. And having someone who's a key decision maker in the call who's decisive is very, very important. So the role of the incident commander is there to progress the incident to resolution. You don't want consensus. You don't want to sit around and get consensus during an incident. You need to be decisive. And really, it's the art of ruling things out as quick as possible. So, yep, good theory. Let's not, you have techniques like you can farm out another team maybe to look at that investigation, or maybe you prioritize rank order the decisions and just rule them out as quick as possible, right? But I will come on to some skills that will help us in the future slides. Okay.
Okay, a couple of poll updates before we move to the next slide, which is 84% have a incident management background, which is good. So you're all on the right call. Oh, we're giving the right webinar. And secondly, 65% voted that to experiencing the same kind of complexity in terms of the incident for this particular challenge drill. So that's reassuring.
So the 35% who haven't, play the drill and you will, right? Okay, you'll get a taste of that experience. Okay, if we look at the challenges, then if you remember the next step then is we look at learning opportunities, and we want to introduce a concept that we've been working on, that we've taken this concept of grounding from, we first came across this at Uptime Labs through John Osborne recommended us take a look at David Woods' paper, Common Ground and Coordination and Joint Activity. Now in that paper is a number of really thought leading, really good patterns in there that's from cognitive systems and troubleshooting. We particularly look at grounding, which is, we'll dive into that today. And I just want to introduce it. The process of grounding is keeping a shared understanding with an incident channel on the working theories, the beliefs and assumptions that we know during an incident. Now that really is, in layman's terms, is keeping everyone on the same page with the latest mental model as your incident develops. Now that mental model will develop, will change as the incident grows and you get new information. But I want to bring up the point of why it's important for an incident commander is that you are the key person. That is a key role, right, for applying grounding in the incident, i.e. getting everyone on the same page with the same mental model. When you have the same mental model, then you can make smart decisions on the ground, okay? And you're avoiding those patterns, those challenges we saw earlier, okay? Grounding itself is a process that runs throughout the incident. It's not a one-time thing. You're not come in and get everyone on the same page and you can set back. It's constant practice you're constantly doing during the life cycle of that incident until the incident is resolved. Okay, so it's an ongoing process. Now, how do you apply, grounding, how do you actually do it in practice, right? Okay, I get it. I get the challenges you're trying to address, right? With confusion, right? And, split views or split brains and, the other one, which is opinions and comments, right? Okay. So how do you address it? Well, really what we do is that we have a collection, we call a license to operate at Uptime Labs. There's a number of practices that we train you in our drills. Now, the specific areas of our license to operate that are very, very centered around grounding is really two buckets, right? Bucket one is really identifying scope. It's impact analysis. It's understanding, okay, what exactly is the fault we're dealing with here? What is the impact of this fault? Whereabouts is this fault? So starting off with clarity on the underlying problem. And there's a number of skills you can use across here, and we'll dive into them through an example of those skills in the next slide. So that's really, starting off with this fuzzy, uncertainty, ambiguous situation and getting more clarity. Okay. And it's really about getting that clarity as quick as you can. Right. Okay. Then step two of that is then communicating that clarity and those mental models, right, within the team, the investigation team. Okay. Whether that be the marketing team, the compliance team, or the investigation team, the technical troubleshooting team. Okay. And keeping everyone on the same mental model. Right. And again, that's hard work. There's a number of skills you need to do, right, to then enable the developers or the engineers to make those decisions as quick as possible, right, to help resolve the incident. So all of these things really result in the fact that you're trying to reduce confusion during an incident by getting a clear understanding amongst the investigation team members. Okay. Now, these practices is exactly what we're monitoring in the challenge drill. So when you play the challenge drill, you go through this scenario in our environment. As you're doing these practices and asking probing questions or using metrics as evidence, etc., we're constantly marking and evaluating these practices. And that's what we're scoring the individual on during the challenge drill.
Hey, Joe, I'm just going to get a quick question out the way. Art from Canada Security asks, what's the criteria for choosing the right individual for an incident commander? Maybe if you just pick, a couple of traits that you thought were crucial for that role.
So what we do in the drill, in the drill scenario, we start off at very, very simple is, okay, who is on triage in the scenario first? Who is first on the triage team? That's our first step. And we do very simple is bring in the key triage team. So we, when it's a generic situation, we recommend bring as different perspectives as possible, especially if this perceived a high severity. And as your mental model, as you do the grounding work, the specificity should come out on, okay, you start getting more and more information to maybe to you get to a point where, okay, you know what, this potentially could be something around a security fault. And you could bring in then maybe escalate to more security team to come in and help. Or it might be a specific domain. So in this scenario, for example, is to do with currencies in our drill we did today. So you bring in then, okay, who's the owner of that feature team? Bring them in for help. So who you bring in at the start depends on the knowledge you have, your mental model. So at the start, you just make your key people on call that come in and do initial triage. But as you progress the drill and you get more information, then you might get more clarity on who to bring in. The quickest incident to solve is when you know the issue at the start and you can just bring in that right database guru, bring them in at the start of the incident, because it's to do with some table table space issues with the database, and you bring them in right at the start of the incident, it'll solve it. But as we know, we don't know. You're starting on certain ambiguous situation. And really the skill is getting enough information to bring in the right person as soon as possible. Okay. Okay, I hope I answered that question. If I didn't, you can repeat it again and we could do it in the Q&A session, okay? So if I move on, I just want to give an example of when we talk about grounding those practices, what it looks like, right? And this is just a tiny subset because of the time in the webinar, right? This is a tiny subset of an example of someone in our challenge drill, right? This is a real transcript we've taken. We anonymized it, but it's a real transcript from someone in the challenge drill. Okay. So in here you'll see Bob, who works for e-commerce site, and Bob is stating we've got new reports coming in. Customers encountered issues with the products on the website. Customers not able to place orders. I think Bob's panicking a bit. He's faffing a bit, right? He's a bit nervous. And he's sort of thrown the ball over to the poor incident commander. So mental model is panic, okay? But there's not much, apart from customers not able to place orders, there's not much my mental model is still very fuzzy at this point in time. Now, the incident commander here, through their experience, starts to ask probing questions back to Bob, the customer success person, right? So he starts asking, well, is there any specific error, Bob, you can specify? Or maybe it could be location related, right? Okay, they're reporting the issue. Now, there's another subject, but the fact in your company, right? The reason you bring up location is that we had a previous drill in our scenarios that was location based, right? So he's bringing in that memory from a previous incident into this incident, okay? And that's a very important aspect in your workplace is to bring in previous experiences into the incident. You get another question here from the incident commander. Is there any complaints regarding any specific product? Now, I stripped out the responses from Bob. My point is that the incident commander is going back and forth for probing questions, right? And they're trying to build up a more clear mental model of what exactly the issue is. Those probing questions he asked, like specific error, location, specific product, that applies in the context of online boutique in this drill, right? In your workplace, right, you will have the same number of probing questions based on experience. So if you're trading systems, it might be location or type of product you sell. If you're in insurance company, it might be some customers you might ask first, you know, what type of third-party customer we're dealing with, right? Every company will have their own list of probing questions they ask to fine-tune understanding the incident, okay? What this does, it starts eliciting back key information back from Bob, right? Okay, Bob, the customer success, back into the investigation team. So it's for all products. So it's not product specific because we had previous drills where, you know, someone made a mistake on a particular product. Yeah, that's not the case. Okay. Then he sends out information around. Here's some customer reports, right? And you can see here there's an abnormal spike in 2 Pacific regions, Turkey and Japan. Okay. Now, the important thing to take away here is that it's moved now into a more data-centric conversation, right? So now the incident commander said, okay, wow, okay. So clearly there's something not right with these 2 regions, right? And you can more confidence and certainty around, okay, this looks like it's not a global issue. It's localized to a couple of regions, okay? And you can start spinning off more questions based on that, okay? One of the questions the incident commander asks, right, is that, well, what's the revenue impact, right, of those regions? And the reason why that's important for this context is because revenue is directly linked to SLAs, okay, within online boutique, okay? So when you come back and Bob comes back, okay, here's our report, here's our regional costs, right? You can quickly do some quick math and say, okay, right, so it's a 9% revenue hit, okay? Now, that's important because in our scenario, we play the fact that if above a certain threshold, there's certain processes that trigger, okay? For example, over 10%, hypothetically speaking, you might need to declare it to the regulator immediately, or you might need to trigger escalating to a new person, or you might need to declare a SEV1 if it's greater than 10%, etc. Okay? So asking all these questions is triggering a sort of mental model from the incident commander, okay? And then the next step they do is they're recapping their mental model back out, okay? So this is just an example of what they did to the senior stakeholders, right? So they sent out some text around, look, it's hitting our Japan and Turkey regions, unable to place orders, it's severity 2, and some maybe additional details. The same user did the same practice with the engineering team. Okay, these are the regions so far, they recap the context, right? To allow the engineers to go off and troubleshoot, right? And then the next cycle of probing questions and investigations they started working on triage, etc. Now, the important point here is that if you look back, right, you'll see there's a constant pattern here that you see. I just did it at the very start of this incident, okay? But you see it here. First of all, there's this role of the incident commander asking probing questions. In this case, they asked the customer success person, starts hazy, start asking lots of questions to start getting certainty around and more clarity around the underlying issue. The second part is the regular recaps. And this is really, really important, right? Recapping, the skill of recapping is that you're constantly setting your mental model amongst the team, okay, as incident commander. Now, there's two things here. Number one is you cannot tell what other people are thinking, right? Remember that split brain I was talking about? So people have their own ideas. If you really clearly communicate, this is the current state, these are the working theories we're after, right? This is the rank order, just over communicating that point within the channels, right? So for example, we did there, look, it's Japan and Turkey regions hit, and it's the SEV2, right? That then gives you the engineers and the other team members opportunity, okay, that's where we're currently at. I now have the understanding. And if they object and don't agree, it's an opportunity for them to, you know what, I'm also seeing issues with another region here, or you start getting that understanding. And then the third one is opinions and comments I mentioned earlier. The role of incident commander is drive out the data discussion. So it's, we saw it today around the revenue numbers, which help you, gauge, okay, this is a SEV2 or a SEV1 that's based on data, or potentially even looking at, I think it might be this service. What evidence do you have to suggest it's this service? Is there errors? Do you see any in your telemetry, etc.? Now, the point is that the high performers in the drills that scored really well, we're constantly going back around these three circles throughout the life cycle of the drill. Okay, lots of questions, lots of recapping, making sure everyone's on the same page, and then lots of data. And that enabled the other investigators in the simulator to make smart decisions and fast track things.
Hey, Joe, could you just cover what's the cost to the business if you get the severity level wrong? Obviously, if it's too low, that's clear. But what if you declare a SEV1 when really, if you'd asked a few more questions, it's clear it was actually a SEV2? What are the consequences to the businesses that you've worked in?
I think there's two aspects of that question. Number one, I think, is that I think there's definitely an importance to get to a reasonable level of confidence on the severity as quick as possible. And asking probing questions, getting data to get to that level of severity is important. There's, if you're between a SEV1 and SEV2, but you're unsure, a bridge call and a discussion with your team is perfectly fine pattern. Okay. The trick is, especially with incident management, is that try not to get yourself in a position where you're unlocked in a single thread. Okay, like a single running system where you're on your own, you're doing everything yourself, as in you're running the incident yourself. Okay, so I'll bring on my second point. So if you're in a situation where you're unsure around the severity, we have another skill we should call sort of concurrent investigation threads, where you delegate. So, okay, we're not sure on the severity here. It's severity 1, severity 2. I need more clarity in this. It's a judgment call. The culture of the company might be declare severity 1, get everyone on, and we can downgrade it if appropriate. We'd rather be proactive in that. Other company cultures where SEV1 might be a major cost to the business and they want a lot more due diligence on that, they might say, you know what, declare it a SEV2 until you absolutely are clear it's SEV1, and these are the key criteria. That's company culture, company centric. Okay. But I would suggest when you're in that situation, when you're not sure it's Seb 1 and Seb 2, to delegate and forming out, grow the team. So, for example, you could delegate someone to work with customer success. In this example, okay, let's find out as quick as possible, get clarity as the Seb 1 or Seb 2, while still letting someone else delegate and start the triage. Okay, so that parallel stream is quite important. But it's only after the fact, when all the dust settles, only after the fact you're clear. Actually, during the heat of the moment, and when you unpick it after the incident, you're clear on it's Seb 1 or Seb 2.
Right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, it's time for some results.
Good. Okay. So you saw the areas we were focused on. So each individual played the same drill, and then we were evaluating, we were measuring the practices they were applying. And you can see here, this is our top 5. The average participant who have done, most of the participants who played our drills, and not all, 95% of them, had done a number of different drills, exercises before going into the challenge drill. So there was an average of 17 sort of skills performed by the core group across the whole challenge drill. And you can see here that these are the outliers. These are the ones who performed the best. You see we have a clear outlier here with Sanjay. If you look at Sanjay's drill itself, he does a load of skill around we use the STAR principle, but that particular part of grounding, he does a fantastic job in the 2 key areas I mentioned earlier. So he had 10 out of 14 of the possible skills to use around sizing up the issue, which is a core part of sort of the grounding aspect. Throughout the drill, he's constantly asking probing questions using metrics, etc. he mentioned, as well as he's constantly replaying and broadcasting back the key information into the external comms. So keeping that context clear all the time and updating it with the various working theories helped the team to unlock and solve the issue fast as possible. So it was a really good demonstration of grounding. So that's on the skills based, and then the other dimension we had was on time based. So this is interesting on the time wise with all the cohort playing. 40%, well, 60% completed. I'll beat the glass half full. 60% of the cohort who played completed the drill on time, and 40% didn't. So I guess that tells you it was challenging, right? It was a challenging drill, but not impossible because 60% did get it. But it was tricky. It was a challenging drill to fit in the time period. Of the group, of all the ones who got it, the earliest is 22.5 minutes. So there's sort of a 2.5 minute period where a lot of people got it at sort of the end. There's a cluster of people together, which was interesting. The average time of those who got it was in that last minute. Was 24 minutes. And what's interesting is there's not a correlation to experience. So a lot of the individuals who played, some of them actually don't have the CV experience as an incident commander. They got lots of drill experience, not necessarily CV experience or incident management experience. So you'll see in my next slide, but with a lot of senior experienced incident managers coming in and dipping their toe and playing the drill and running at a time, versus we had a couple of folks, we had even one graduate come in and was able to get it, had the skills to be able to get it in time, which was impressive. So that was another interesting finding from the drills.
Hey, Joe, is there anybody on this board or the previous one that had been playing for less than 1 year, or has everybody been playing for 1 year here?
Oh, no. There's yeah. I think number 5, Rishke, he's only on maybe since January. Wow, so okay. Some of them have been playing over a year. We've got some folks who are on maybe 18 months of drills, I would say. And then others who have a cohort have come in Q1 this year.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, some interesting facts. This is your slide, Greg, right? You love this one. But we had one player who finished the drill with like 3 seconds spare, something crazy like that. But they made it. They got it in time, which was funny. We had quite a few. What our clients? A lot of the practitioners are, on the ground in the trenches, incident commanders. But we do have incident commanders who are now managers, right, and running their teams, and we always invite them to come in and play the challenge drill, dust off the skills, and come on, you can do it. It's great for us getting feedback on the challenge drill as well for future drills, right? We quite a few did it, and we had only one who actually got it in the time period, which was interesting. So yeah, that was interesting. An experienced incident commander, manager, one of them came in and got it done just in the nick of time, 20 seconds to go. So maybe it's a bit of rust there. Maybe we should all be doing that. You think about it, major incident happens, they're normally brought in as well, right, to come in. So I think that was just an interesting observation. Our cohort's mainly based in three countries, largely due to the participants as companies that took part, but England, Holland, and India. And we measured the distance between two players from the cohort, the furthest distance, and we worked it out. It's around almost 5,000 miles. And we put that through Google Meet to see the road, how to get there, right? It's quite a long journey. But it's really interesting. And one of the cool things with the product is that you can play it anywhere, any region, and you just join the virtual company and you just play the drill. And it's really cool to see how, getting different cultures, different backgrounds, different experiences coming in and playing the drill. But there's same objective of solving the drill as quick as possible, and we're evaluating everyone in the same way, which is wicked, and everyone's playing against the clock. So we have to announce our winners from the challenge drill, right? So from this challenge drill, from the Details Matters challenge drill, I'd like to announce we have 3 winners today. So I just want to call out Sanjay from IG. Sanjay demonstrated the most skill, was a complete outlier from the rest of the cohort on the most skills demonstrated during the drill. He's particularly good on the grounding techniques that were sizing up the issue. He used 10 of a possible 14 techniques in sizing out the issue. And he also did a fabulous job on the triage and actions, 2 out of 4 and 3 out of 4 of the collective skills. And then leading up the investigation and internal comms, again, 6 out of 7 skills. So he practically used up almost all the skills. I would say he got 75-80% of our total license operate skills he demonstrated in the drill. So very, very impressive. And what I love about Sanjay is he's one of our most consistent practitioners as well. So it's good to see all the practice makes perfect and pays off. So congratulations there. Second winner is Shiraj, who is Mr. Speedy. So I think it's the second time he's topped the challenge drill since he's been running them at Uptime Labs, where he's been top with guarding, solving the incident as the fastest. So he is speedy. It's just he's really interesting to watch how direct and he can apply his skills so quickly. He scored very highly as well. He did score very highly as well, but it's there's something there with Shiraj around. He's constantly hitting the speed as these challenge drills as well, and he's one of our, along with Sanjay, he's one of our most consistent and long-running sort of incident managers participating in Uptime Labs. So I'd like to congratulate you there. And then finally, a big call out to Facundo from the Storio group, who really did both. He was almost top at the skills level and also in the time recovery. So he did both. He demonstrated high level of skills during the drills, as well as accompanying that with speed on getting the time to resolve. So kudos to Facundo. I think doing both is very challenging. And you don't know the answer until you go through all these methods to find out the smoking gun, the working theory. So kudos for Facundo. Again, he's one of our practitioners. At least 6 months in the platform training. So it's great to see that he's getting the reaps of his reward. So we'll be sending a voucher out, and you're the Uptime Labs challenge for winners. Congratulations to all 3 of you. Well done. If I move on, one of the things we like to do with our challenge drills is validate with participants, you know, the value of that time spent doing the challenge drill and sort of the value it brings back. I'm just going to highlight 3 patterns we've seen in this with this cohort who played. The first one is that it's really nice to hear it you know, it can apply, it feels real, like a real production issue. And you know, we've had people play and said, oh yeah, I had an incident like this before, X happened, us. That's what we love, right? So that might be the percentage of people who played earlier. You said that, so the drill reminded them of previous issues. But that realism is very important to us. So the drills need to feel real, and you're sort of buying that experience, right, without having to go through the scars. So you know, the idea would be that situation, for example, happening in Q4. Now everyone who plays the drill in that company can get that experience, right? That Arisha shared with us. So realism importance. The actual being able to actually apply the lessons learned in practice on the ground is also very important, right? So you know, this is all about transferable skills, taking these skills and then applying them in when you're in a complex, disorientating, uncertain, ambiguous situation within your own company, and be able to apply those skills and getting validation and feedback. Yep, I can see how this can apply and help me, is what it's all about, right? So you can perform at your best when you get that incidents, right? And we know incidents is not if, it's when they happen. And the third one is, this is a really interesting one. I've noticed this pattern as well, that people come in without the hardened experience and scars that we have in incident response, come fresh out of uni, and we give them the pleasure of feeling these stressful situations in a sandbox, in a safe space. And you know, it's not for everyone, but you see people really thrive under pressure and this environment, and you can see them really come to light and get this, love the adrenaline rush and pick up the skills. So someone with, you know, not much industry experience picks it up very, very quickly, and it was quite impressive when, you know, it's a level playing field in the drill, and you see them how they can react quickly and pick things up and practice things. So that's really nice to see that, you know, this is one of our offerings really, is you're buying that experience, right? Because you know, before Uptime Labs, you know, the way to learn was on the job. You learn on the job, right? And until someday you're first on the call, you have to pick it up. So it's good to see there's another way. Maybe we can give people the skills without the trauma, which is cool.
Hey, Joe, this might be a moment just to thank everybody for their feedback, because, you know, those 3, so, you know, Suraj, Fagundo, Rishikesh, they didn't know we were going to take their feedback and throw it up in this webinar, but everybody provided feedback, and thanks so much. It's really important to us, so that, you know, we can see who enjoyed it. You know, did it hurt? And it, you know, gives us really good insight into how we plan our next drills, which leads us on to the next topic, doesn't it?
It does. So yeah, we're really excited with this one, as you can imagine, at Uptime Labs. It's something we've been working on the background and iterating on over the last couple of months, and it's basically multiple player drills where more than one user plays the drill. So imagine a challenge drill where you can play with your teammates and go in together and solve it together. We know really big incidents, it does take, you know, for example, you need multiple incident commanders involved in an incident to help out. One do scribe, one manage external comms, one manage internal comms, etc. So, or the opposite, where we've had where you can have maybe introduce some technical troubleshooters into the drill as well and work with them. So we have a couple of flavors of the sort of multiplayer drill. We're really excited about that because it's a brand new area of analytics for us as well, measurements. So at the, you know, to date we focused on individual players playing within the sort of characters or the AI bots that we have in our drills. Now you'll be there maybe potentially with a, you know, bridge call with your colleagues as well as the other characters, and sort of troubleshooting that. And getting that analytics is going to be interesting. And we feel it's going to be a nice complement with individual drills where you do in your own time, you practice your skill, and then you come together and you play together and see, okay, how you're performing. And you can also learn off each other how you play under stress. And maybe some people have strengths, different strengths and weaknesses under an incident as well. You can comment those skills. So yeah, that's the call out. And next challenge drill is going to be a team drill, which we're very excited for.
Fantastic. We're a few minutes over, but we have a couple of questions, and I didn't see them until just now, but at least both of them could be related to the team challenge drill. So the first is, can the practice of grounding be used in a drill in relation to the team's understanding of how the technical systems actually work? So you could have a junior team member, a senior engineer, and so on. So just wondering whether we have drills that allow us to do that, or is this actually counterproductive during an incident?
Oh, it's definitely not counterproductive. So short answer is yes. Slightly longer answer is we've been trialing this out, and for example, we've noticed, for example, with one group, we had a technical troubleshooter, and we had an incident commander, and the incident commander was applying constant context setting in the drill. So that one was async, but the idea was that the incident commander was applying updates, context back into the main channel, and the developer then was troubleshooting and just keeping an eye on the updates from an incident commander. So yeah, the person who asked the question, sign up and we'll get you to play the drill. Yeah, and you can get all the answers in reality, right, with your teammates. But short answer is yes.
Now I can answer the next question, which is, will there be a team leaderboard for the team challenge drill? And yes, there's going to be a team leaderboard, because I got no idea how it's going to work, because we're going to have multiple players, and theoretically there's going to be multiple scores. But I guess you'll both have the same finish time. I don't know if you've got some thoughts on that already.
There'll be a leaderboard. There'll be a winner. Don't worry, there will be a winner. So if you can get your dream team together, we'll get the scores and get it up.
Fantastic. Okay, I think that covers all of the questions. We have run out of time. I thank everybody for giving up their time today, and please sign up to the Team Challenge Drill. We want as many of you as possible, and we want to see you back in, let's say, within 6 months. That's a commitment, right? Within 6 months, we'll be announcing the results of the challenge drill. So probably sometime after you all get back from the summer break. Until then, thank you very much.